the story with Velvel Green about davening mincha in his office. It's an amazing story. How no matter how many times you hear it, it still remains an amazing story. The fact that he became changed because of it, the fact that he became Velvel Green, the Lubavitcher, because of it, that's the PS, at least for me. That's the PS part of the story. That's the poetic ending. But the fact that you got up to daven in his room is something that a lot of people would say they would do, but in the moment, I don't know how many people would actually do it. So do me a favor, if you could, if you're feeling up to it, to share with us the real story of what happened over there, and what was behind it.
He wrote a lot about it, and the Rebbe read it. It was in Challenge, the book, and the Rebbe spoke about it. In a sikha. My son Mendel called, said, wouldn't be well, called me and told me, "Tav, the Rebbe spoke about you at the Fabrenk today." Well, I'll tell you what the Rebbe said, but the story went like this. I was this was my first year or second year in Minnesota, and he was the darling of the community. He was a professor and he could speak very well. And he was a professor at the University of Minnesota, and he was a proud Jew. He had never put on tefillin, and never, all that was, old-fashioned, but he was a proud Jew, and I went after him because he used his Hebrew name, Professor Velvel Green. His name was William, but he didn't use that. Professor Velvel Green.
This is what he looked like? This is what he looked like then?
That's what it looked like, yeah. Very good. Later on, he grew a beard, but he became very close to the Rebbe. But I went to him. Again, I called him a lot of times, and he refused me, thinking they said, "I'll send you $18. I called him the second time. "I'm not after your money," I told him. I called him the second time. "Look, I'll send you $36. If that's what I meant." I said, "I want an appointment with you." So finally he tells me, "Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes. Okay. And he was very, today he'd be very on this pandemic. That was his field. His son David was a shliach by us. The biggest name in this whole situation, expert, is a Dr. Ulsterholm. And somehow his son David called up Osterholm, and he said, "Did you, we knew that was the field, this public health. Did you know my father?" He answered that I know didn't use these words, Rebbe Muvok, but he's my instructor. And he raved about him. I got a 10-minute appointment. I said he was the darling of the Jewish community because he spoke and in shuls. And I went and I met him. And in the middle of our meeting, I saw it was becoming shkia. Hey, I got a daven mincha. So I excused myself. And put on a gartel. He writes about it. He says he put some kind of rope around his waist. And I went to the corner and I davened mincha, Shemon Esrei, and he didn't know what to do. He writes, should I stand? Should I sit? He mustn't be praying, but you don't pray in an office. You pray in a temple. And he writes a very nice article, and obviously the Rebbe wrote that. And after I davened, the way the Rebbe put it, that we spoke a lot of philosophy, and the Rebbe said, "Es ist gerät als Sachphilosophie zwischen sie." There was a lot of philosophy going in between the two of them. Aber nicht die Philosophie hat ihm genommen. It wasn't the philosophy that took him. The Mincha hat him genommen. That he saw somebody actually talking to God. That made it real for him. And he writes about it. And what should I say? These figures that it's again the notion that I had that the Rebbe wanted shluchim to get everybody involved. So Rebbe, a yid is a yid, but if you can get to a yid who is famous, get to him because his getting involved mitzvahs will influence others. People follow the example of famous people.
But where'd you get the courage to get up and daven mincha in the office of a VIP, and not say you'll use Rabbeinu Tam Shkia or some other loophole to excuse yourself the other way, as opposed to getting up in front of a guy and davening mincha? What's the thought process?
That's a good. I told him later, this conference between us is very important, but the conference I had to have was even more important, and with the God Almighty, and that it was said, "Das hat ihm genommen."